Hello and welcome to another episode of Hockey Talkie. My name is Clay. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to discuss the goalie situation for the Chicago Blackhawks. We know that they have some decisions to make, not only before the trade deadline, but also before the end of the year and also during the off season. So without further ado, let's talk about it. As we all remember, the Blackhawks last offseason made a bit of a surprising move, signing free agent goaltender Robin Lehner to a one-year deal. He was just coming off a Vezina Trophy type of season with the Islanders last year, and so the Blackhawks, knowing that they were coming into the last year of Corey Crawford's contract, decided to give him a little help and get one of the best goalie tandems in the league going for this season, and it's certainly worked out so far. It hasn't been the downfall for sure. It's actually been one of the reasons why the Blackhawks are even in the wild card hunt right now coming out of the All-Star break. But it's also created this situation where some decisions need to be made. And so the Hawks have some options going forward for the trade deadline, for the end of the year, and also the offseason. But their options are going to depend on a couple scenarios. The first scenario would be that the Blackhawks continue their good play as of late, the type of play they've had for the last 15-ish games. And in that scenario, they make a push for the playoffs. And in that scenario, I don't see the front office moving either of the goaltenders before the trade deadline. I would say that the front office, considering that the Blackhawks haven't made the playoffs the last 2 years, would be really welcoming to making a push, and certainly having the two goaltenders in Robin Lehner and Corey Crawford probably gives the Hawks the best chance of doing that if they, play well. Now, they'll ride the goaltenders out for the rest of the year. If they make the playoffs, great, fantastic, goal accomplished. If they do not make the playoffs, tough luck. The goaltender certainly at least gave them a chance. That then leads into the offseason, where the Hawks will try and keep one of these two goaltenders, most likely Robin Lehner, considering that he is younger and the better goaltender at this point in time. Corey Crawford would then walk to see if he could find a starting job somewhere else. But the Hawks, if their focus is on Robin Lehner, great, but they got to be careful. We've seen with guys like Price and Bobrovsky that overpaying a goaltender or paying him a high salary doesn't guarantee success. And with the amount of money that the Hawks have wrapped up in other players and no move clauses and everything like that, they got to be careful, especially with goaltenders, because they don't want to be paying $11 million again like they were this year for goaltenders. So I'm not saying Robin Lehner doesn't deserve to get paid, but the Hawks certainly need to be careful when negotiating or possibly negotiating with him. Then we have scenario numero dos, and that is the Blackhawks play tanks, and it becomes apparent that the Hawks are just not going to be making the playoffs this year for the third straight year, and the Hawks become sellers at the deadline, where they'll probably try and trade one of these two goaltenders. Now, which one they trade is most likely going to be determined by the offers that are presented to the Hawks. Now, as much as I'd like to re-sign Lehner, and I think a lot of people would like to re-sign Lehner, there is a price for everyone. If you get the right price for Lehner, because it is a seller's market at the trade deadline, if you get a ridiculously good price for Lehner, you got to take it. You got to ship him off and deal with it. Maybe you look at getting Crawford for one more year and get some mercenary UFA goaltender in free agency, or maybe hope that Lankinen or Delia steps up next year. But if you find that price, you got to take it for either or, Lehner or Crawford. Is there a scenario where Lehner gets traded and then we can re-sign him in the offseason? Sure, there is a scenario, but I don't see that as likely. I think if the Hawks do trade Lehner, I think he's pretty much as good as gone. So obviously there's a couple scenarios that we got to see play out over the next couple of weeks before the trade deadline to really see what happens with this goaltender situation. Now, in my opinion, I think the most likely scenario is that the Blackhawks try their best to re-sign Robin Lehner to make him the guy moving forward. I think they want him as the starter for the foreseeable future, but it does take two to tango. If Lehner doesn't want to re-sign with the Blackhawks, then there's not a whole lot the Hawks can do about that. But I think they want him to be the guy and then have Lankinen or Delia, somebody like that, step up into the backup role. But we're going to have to wait and see. There's going to be a lot of rumors and misinformation and opinions coming out in the next couple of weeks, because that is what the trade deadline is all about. So I would just suggest take everything with a grain of salt. Try to stay relaxed about things and just let things play out. Let official reports come before you actually freak out about something. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Hockey Talkie. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Like, share, and subscribe. Appreciate that as always. But most importantly, stay safe, make good decisions, and I'll see you next time.